Hello, everyone. You know who this is, yet you have absolutely no idea. Of course. Tonight I'm going to be doing something a bit different. And I'm well aware that many of you have heard me make these statements in my intros before, but I can assure you tonight is going to be quite a bit different. I'm going to be responding to Montagraph tonight. And the reason for this is that he did a live stream earlier today where he was addressing Tom Hanks, and he was discussing the COVID-19 situation. He refers to it as the Wuhan wiggle. And I've noticed that, though I was not in his stream today, that in the past, that when I have been in his stream modding, that if I make any reference to wearing a mask in public, I am berated, I am told that I am stupid, I am told that I am a government shill, I am told that I am weak-minded, I'm told that I work for the establishment. I've been berated by the supporters of Montagraph in the chat, and I've even been berated by Montagraph himself publicly on 2 occasions. So tonight I'm going to explain why I wear a mask, and I'm going to do a real-time rebuttal. Let's get started.
You remember that Tom Hanks, the acting actor, that one, got the Wuhan wiggle early in the game. Oh, I'm so scared. And miraculously, he pulled through. Thanks, Hanky Panky. You pulled through. Good for you. Now there was a story that came out through the LA Times, and Hanky Panky over there he's very concerned about all the people that are not taking the Wuhan wiggle seriously. He's very, very concerned. Oh, it's all about public safety.
Tom Hanks is not alone. In fact, I share a lot of the very same concerns. On July 4th, I was at a grocery store. It was a Kroger's grocery store in Lexington, Kentucky. And while I was standing in line to check out, I noticed in the pharmacy section, which is over to the right, I'm familiar with the location because I've been there a few times before, that there was a girl in the cold medicine aisle. She was not wearing a mask. She looked very unwell. She was hacking her lungs out. Not only was she not wearing a mask, but other people around her were not wearing masks. In fact, I was one of the few people in the store who was wearing a mask. And I'm going to get into why I wear a mask later. I'm not going to cover that right now. But my concerns are the same as Tom Hanks's concerns. We are in the midst of a pandemic. Whether you believe it to be planned or not, the pandemic is very real. And until this pandemic is contained, we will not get back to normal. And people, unfortunately, will continue to die. I'm going to cover that more in a few minutes as well.
Let me ask you a question there, Hanky Panky. Are you concerned about how many people perish each year because of smoking-related issues? Yes? No? Hey, listen, why isn't the United States government worried about, public safety when it comes to cigarette tobacco, pipe tobacco, cigar tobacco? I was just curious. Why don't they ban all tobacco-related products everywhere?
That's an excellent point. In fact, I brought up the exact same point in the aftermath of the Parkland shooting when everyone was pushing for more gun control. If it's really about saving lives, then you're going to focus on the greatest threat to human life. And the Yankee Marshal actually stated this in a recent video that I thought was very important. It was a very enlightening way of putting it. He was addressing black-on-black crime versus police-on-black crime. And he was stating that Black Lives Matter needs to focus more on the actual root causes of African American deaths in the African American community. And he compared it to having 2 holes in your yard. You have one hole that's a foot deep that could trip someone and break their ankle, and you have another hole that's 4 feet deep that is filled with punji sticks. Which hole do you fill first? The one that's most dangerous. But focusing back on Tom Hanks and Montagraph's statement toward Tom Hanks is against tobacco, and he stated as such many times on his Twitter account. So there's that.
Huh? Shame on me, because they're making money from it. Big money. That's why. Not only the federal government is making big money, but the states are making big money, right? Absolutely right. Hey, Hanky Panky, are you worried? Are you really worried about the people that are not taking alcohol-related deaths seriously? Huh? Oh, hold up. Wait. Forgive me again.
I'm concerned that people are not taking alcohol-related deaths seriously, and I'm also concerned that people are not taking tobacco-related deaths seriously. I'm concerned that people are not taking HIV seriously enough. I'm concerned that people are not taking inner-city violence seriously enough. And I'm certain that Tom Hanks is as well. When someone states that they're concerned that the public is not taking the COVID-19 threat seriously, they're not stating that they're not concerned that they're not taking other issues seriously. We are simply stating that we are concerned that the public is not taking the COVID-19 issue seriously.
Why isn't the federal government or the presidents of these individual states like Alabama, right? Florida, Mississippi, and Texas, and Colorado, and Montana, California, New York, Connecticut, Vermont, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Illinois. Why? Are you not worried, Hanky Panky, about the mortality rate dealing with alcohol-related illnesses? Why don't they eliminate alcohol? Everything, all of it. Beer, wine, hard liquor. If they're so worried about public safety, I'm so afraid. Oh, that's right, because they're making money. That's why.
While money is a contributing factor, they are making a lot of money. I think the primary concern is that lung cancer, heart disease, and liver failure aren't contagious. They don't spread through the air.
Right? You're damn right I'm right. But you're not worried about that, are you? You're worried about some ridiculous hogwash that has been shoved up everybody's nose about the woo hand wiggle, the thing that you supposedly had. Have you ever thought to yourself there, Hanky Panky, that your test was the same exact test that was sent to the African nation where they swabbed a goat and a piece of fruit? Have you ever thought to yourself that you never had anything, that it was a contaminated test and all? Bet you that's what happened. So that way they could use you, kind of like they do everybody else.
I would like to start by saying that I find it to be very inappropriate that you would deny that someone had COVID-19 if they had it. Now, I can't say for certain that Tom Hanks had COVID-19, but if he had, that would be very disrespectful. As far as the false positives, what about false positive on HIV tests? I've heard of this happening quite a bit. It's actually more common than one would think. Could you imagine being the recipient of a false positive on an HIV test? That would wake you up. But are the people who receive false positives on HIV tests being used for some sort of agenda? Or did they just receive a false positive on a flawed test? And it's important to keep in mind that COVID-19 testing is still in its infancy.
Quote, we don't know what's going to happen with the Wuhan wiggle. The idea of doing one's part, though, should be simple. Wear a mask, BS alert. It's bad for you, buddy boy. When you breathe in, pay attention, Hanky Panky. When you breathe in this stuff called oxygen. When you breathe out carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is poison. Do you understand that? Saying that you love California and seeing that you go to all these award shows in California, I really hope you see this video because I'm going to send it to you. I'll send it to your personal email address too, or I can call you on the phone. I don't care. I'll send it to you wherever you got all your social media, Instagram, Twitter, wherever it is you're at. Pay attention there, Hanky Panky. These are facts, irrefutable facts, sweetheart. The fact of the matter is, OSHA, do you know who OSHA is? Yeah. You see all these businesses, and OSHA, as you know, deals with the sets. All the set designs for Universal Pictures. I used to work for them a long time ago as a set designer under Carthay Set Services. True story. And you see, OSHA, they put their nose in especially union-based businesses, especially in California. It's actually against the regulations to be wearing a mask on a job site. Do you know why? Because what I just said.
It's against OSHA regulations to wear a mask on a job site? Take a look at this. We're on the website for the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, more commonly known as OSHA. And as you can clearly see, it is OSHA.gov based on the URL bar at the top of the screen. This is their COVID-19 Frequently Asked Questions page. Let's go to the section on cloth face coverings. OSHA generally recommends that employers encourage workers to wear face coverings at work. Face coverings are intended to prevent wearers who have coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, without knowing it, i.e., those who are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, from spreading potentially infectious respiratory droplets to others. This is known as source control. And you can clearly see, if you scroll down the page, that there are some exemptions. Individuals working with hazmat, individuals working in extremely hot conditions where maybe a face shield will be a more viable alternative. But by and large, OSHA is mandating some form of personal protective equipment while at work, i.e., face coverings of some sort. So no, it is not against OSHA regulations to wear a mask.
You breathe in oxygen and you breathe out carbon dioxide, which is poison. And if it drops your normal breathing, in other words, the ratio of the oxygen intake, you can actually pass out. Are you aware of this, Hanky Panky?
There are some conditions where wearing a face mask may prove to be detrimental. Extremely hot conditions, conditions where certain hazmats may be present, and of course this is all outlined on the OSHA website where they give the exemptions for the requirement for wearing a face mask or the mandate to wear a face mask. And I have to say that if you're going to pass out because you're wearing a face mask, you probably have an underlying medical condition that needs to be checked out. A lot of ski masks cover the nose and mouth, and we're not seeing skiers dropping dead or passing out on the slopes in record numbers. Drywallers wear masks. Motorcycle helmets cover the nose and mouth, and we're not seeing cyclists crashing and burning on the streets because they passed out as a result of wearing their helmet. Here you see on the screen a surgeon. Surgeons wear these masks when they're conducting surgery, and a lot of these surgeries last in excess of 10 hours, and we're not seeing surgeons passing out during surgery. What you're saying has no basis in reality. But we are going to focus on why the surgeon wears the mask, because the surgeon wears the mask for the same reason that the public is being asked to wear the mask. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Probably not. So why don't you go look up that OSHA regulation? I want you to. In other words, if you were on a union-related job, like at Universal Pictures, creating a set for a motion picture and all, because you know all the carpenters, they're under union. You know this. Come on there, Hanky Panky. That's exactly right. If some dude's up on a ladder and he's doing electrical or he's doing carpentry, whatever he's doing, and he's not tied off and he was to be wearing a mask and the oxygen intake was not enough, then guess what? He could pass out.
Speaking of OSHA regulations, if he was that high up on a ladder, he would be required to be tied off. So there's that.
Consequently, he could place himself and others in danger. Go look up the reg. I want you to. Eric Toner. I'll leave the link. Be happy to provide it. Eric Toner, one of the top epidemiologists of Johns Hopkins. Have you ever heard of them there, Hanky Panky? I bet you have. Has stated out of his own mouth that wearing facial or wearing a mask, worthless. Paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
No, that is not what he said. This is what he said.
Does wearing a mask work?
Probably not. It's probably effective for someone who is sick to wear a mask. That will block to some extent the transmission of infectious droplets. Wearing a mask if you're not sick to save yourself probably is not very effective, but it's not harmful.
Which brings us to why the surgeon wears the mask. The surgeon does not wear the mask to protect himself from the patient. The surgeon wears the mask to protect the patient from him. The surgeon wears the mask to prevent contaminants from getting onto or into the patient during surgery. The purpose for the mandate to wear masks is to prevent people who are infected from inadvertently infecting other people, or to at least slow it to some extent. But there's no guarantee. Name one thing in life that is guaranteed. I have stated in the past that .22 long rifle as a caliber is not a proven fight stopper. But does that mean that if a 350-pound man kicks in my door with a hatchet and the only weapon available to me is a Ruger 10/22, that I'm not going to pick up that weapon and put it into use? Of course not. You're going to use what you have. You work with what you have. Even if it's not 100% effective, you're going to use it to the maximum of its effectiveness. Masks work the same way.
Dr. Fauci also said it's not going to help you. Those are his words, not mine. Would you like the video? He's on video with his face and his voice saying it there, hanky-panky. So
let's hear what Dr. Fauci has said.
Well, you know, the best PPE for the general public, if possible, right now, is to maintain the physical and social distancing. But as we've said, and I think all of us would agree, there are certain circumstances in which it is beyond your control when you need to do necessary things, like go to the drugstore and get your medication, go to the grocery store and get your food, that in fact you need some supplementation to just physical distancing. And that's the reason why some time ago, the recommendation was made, I believe it was Dr. Redfield at the CDC who first said that, about getting some sort of a covering. We don't want to call it a mask because back then we were concerned we would be taking masks away from the healthcare providers, but some sort of mask-like facial covering, I think for the time being, should be a very regular part of how we prevent the spread of infection. And in fact, the more and more as you go outside, right here and where I'm sitting in Washington, D.C., you can see many people out there with masks on, which gives me some degree of comfort that people are taking this very seriously.
this nonsense that you and all these other ding-dongs are proliferating all over the interwebs and on the television is absolute and utter irresponsible hogwash. You are not a doctor. How dare you give medical advice, hanky-panky?
Do you know who else is not a doctor? You. As far as why I wear a face mask, it's because I don't want someone else to get sick. I don't want someone else to potentially die because of me. That's why I wear a face mask. It's very simple, and it's not a difficult decision to make. When I go out, I'm a bit uncomfortable. Yes, the face masks are uncomfortable. They're tedious. But it's a small price to pay to potentially keep someone else from getting sick and or possibly dying because of me. I know that face masks are marginally effective at best. But at the same time, I'm going to do everything in my power to make certain that my actions do not cause injury or harm to anyone else. That's what it's about for me. And I know, Monty, that you believe that it's a pandemic and you believe that it's fake or whatever your opinion is. You have the right to it, just as I have the right to my opinion. But what if you're wrong? Opinion is not fact, and you're treating it as though it is. What if you're wrong? You know you've been wrong before, just as I've been wrong before. We've all been wrong. That's a hell of a price for someone else to pay for your opinion. You have a lot of people following you, and you have a lot of people who listen to you and who hang on your every word. They take your advice. They follow your lead. This isn't just about you, Monty. It isn't about me. People are dying, and I find it to be grossly irresponsible that you're convincing your followers to not protect themselves. And that is the only reason why I'm doing this. That's all I have for you.